Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha Kodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles, the great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching His word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning. And unto the Bayath and the elect house of David that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. So what you see on the screen here, this is the next series, or the next video in the Captivity series. All right, this is about the Assyrian captivity. Okay, now we're gonna, Lord willing, be edifying unto the body and to the sincere believers and listeners. So we're gonna go ahead and read a little bit of this article. We're gonna get some scripts, and like I said, Lord willing, be edifying. So here we go. Assyrian captivity, also called Assyrian exile, is the period in the history of ancient Israel and Judah. Okay, so ancient Israel and Judah, so both northern kingdom and southern kingdom, and I'm going to get into why and how they were split. Okay, during which, so I left off right here. It says, during which several thousand Israelites from the kingdom of Israel were dispossessed and forcibly relocated by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Okay, so let's see here. It says, so the Neo-Assyrian Empire, I don't know why I said Nero. It says the Neo-Assyrian Empire was the fourth and penultimate stage of ancient Assyrian history. The beginning with the accession of Adad Nirari II in 911 BC. The Neo-Assyrian Empire grew to dominate the ancient Near East and parts of South Caucasus, North Africa, and East Mediterranean throughout much of the 9th and 7th centuries BC, becoming the largest empire in history up to that point. Because of its geopolitical dominance and ideology based on world domination, the Neo-Assyrian Empire is by many researchers regarded to have been the first world empire in history. Okay. It influenced other empires of the ancient world culturally, administratively, and militarily, including the Neo-Babylonians and the Achaemenids, which is the Medo-Persian Empire, and the Seleucids. At its height, the empire was the strongest military power in the world and ruled over all of Mesopotamia and Levant and Egypt, as well as parts of Anatolia, Arabia, and modern-day Iran and Armenia. Okay. So, just a little bit of history about the Neo-Assyrian. I always like to read about the history of things. But getting back to on point here, so it's like I said, several thousand Israelites from the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom, which is you so-called Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, were dispossessed and forcibly relocated by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. One of many instances attesting Assyrian resettlement policy was this mass deportation of the Israelite nation began immediately after the Assyrian conquest of Israel, which was overseen by the Assyrian kings Tiglath-Pileser III and Shalmaneser V. The later Assyrian kings Sargon II and Sennacherib also managed to subjugate the Israelites in the neighboring kingdom of Judah, following the Assyrian siege of Jerusalem in 701 BC, but were unable to annex their territory outright. The Assyrian captivity's victims are known as the 10 lost tribes, and Judah was left as the sole Israelite kingdom until Babylonian siege of Jerusalem in 587 BC. All right, so let's see. So according to time here, so from 587 from 701 to 587, that's That's 114 years, which resulted in the Babylonian captivity of the Jewish people, or the Jews, which is the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Not all of Israel's populace was deported by the Assyrians. Those who were not expelled from the former kingdom's territory eventually became known as the Samaritan people. So not all of the northern kingdom, the bulk of the northern kingdom was taken by the Assyrians, but there were some that did remain. Okay, the captivity began approximately 732 BC according to the modern scholarship. And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pilneser, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, which is you so-called Seminole Indians, the Gadites, you so-called Native Americans, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, the so-called Cubans, and brought them unto Halah, Habor, and Hara, and to the river Gozan unto this day. All right. So let's see. And it says, in the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pilneser, king of Assyria, and he took Ijon and Abel, Beth Maacah, Janoah, and Kadesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. Around 722 BC, around 10 years after the initial deportation, the ruling city of the northern kingdom of Israel, Samaria, was finally taken by Sargon II after a 3-year siege started by Shalmaneser V. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea after he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. Okay, it says here, in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor and by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. All right, so let me go ahead and get these scripts here. I'm gonna get what happened to our, and basically how did our nation split into 2 kingdoms? So we're gonna get the book. This is going to be the book of 1 Kings, chapter 11. 1 Kings, chapter 11, starting at verse 1. And it says, and when... wrong one here. I was in the wrong book there, Slocky. Give me a moment. So, okay, there we go. 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 1. And it says, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, who are the so-called Chinese, the Ammonites, the Japanese, Edomites, the so-called white people, Sidonians and Hittites, which are the of the Hamite nations, so-called Africans. Verse 2, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. Okay. Verse 3, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Okay. Verse 4, For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord, his power, as was the heart of David his father. Verse 5, for Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Amorites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Verse 7, then Solomon built in a high place of Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Moloch, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. Verse 9, and the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord Yahweh of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. Verse 10, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Verse 11, wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. So, I know I read a lot right there, but so, King Solomon, he led his wives, his women that he was, married to, they led him astray. Okay, they had him turn his heart from Yahweh and follow after, false gods, false idols. Okay, and the Lord, he didn't keep that which was commanded of him. So Yahweh rendered, rendered the kingdom from him, took the kingdom from under his authority and rule. Okay, that's what Yahweh did to Solomon. He took Israel from underneath his authority and rule, and then he gave it to his servant, whose name is Jeroboam. All right. So we're going to go down to verse 28. This is 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 28. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor, and Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. Okay. Verse 29, and it came to pass that at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahiah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahiah caught the new garment that was on him, and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of Israel, behold, I will rent the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. Verse 32, but he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and that's the tribe of Judah. And for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. Verse 33, because that they have forsaken me, and have worshipped Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. Verse 34, howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life, for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. Verse 35, but I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. Excuse me. Verse 36. And unto his son will I give one tribe, and who's Solomon's son, and his name was Rehoboam. And that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. Verse 37, and I will take thee, and thou shalt reign according to all that thy soul desireth, and shalt be king over Israel. Verse 38, and it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and wilt walk in my ways, and do that is right in my sight, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with thee, and build thee a sure house, as I built for David, and I will give Israel unto thee. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever. Okay. So, verse 40, Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. Okay. Remember the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 34, jealousy is the rage of a man, right? So, Solomon became envious of Jeroboam. Okay? And Jeroboam, let's see, verse 40, 1 Kings 11 and 40. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. And Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shishak, the king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. And the rest of the acts of Solomon and all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Solomon? That's why we have the book called Wisdom of Solomon, okay, which is in the Apocrypha. Verse 42. And the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. Verse 43. And Solomon slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead. All right. Now, this is going to be chapter 12 in the book of 1 Kings, starting at verse 1. And this is going to get more into how and why, how we know why Judah and Israel became two separate kingdoms, southern and northern. And it says, 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. Verse 2, and it came to pass when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt. Verse 3, that they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came, and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us, lighter, and we will serve thee. Okay, so during Solomon's rule, he put in fact, I'm gonna keep reading down because it's gonna tell. Verse 5. And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed, and King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while yet he lived, and said, How do you advise that I may answer this people? Verse 7, I spake unto him, saying, If thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and wilt serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever. But verse 8, but he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. And he said unto them, What counsel give ye, that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter. Verse 10, and the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, Thus shalt thou speak unto this people that speak unto thee, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but maketh thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger be thicker than my father's loins. Verse 11. And now whereas my father did lake you with heavy yoke, and will add to your yoke, my father hath chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Rehoboam was going to be much more harsh than Solomon was. Okay. Verse 12. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook his old men's counsels that they gave him. 14. And spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, my father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. 15. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord, that he might perform his saying which the Lord spake by Ahiah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Verse 16. So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Israel which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute. And all Israel stoned him with stones, that he died. Therefore King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So Rehoboam was, like I said, Rehoboam was much more harsh than Solomon on the northern kingdom when it came to, the labor and, the tribute, which is, paying taxes and all that. Verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David, which is the southern kingdom, Judah, the house of David, unto this day. And yeah, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom to this very day, they hate each other. In fact, let's see. This is going to be Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, verse 54. And it says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So let me read the first line there. Let me read the first couple lines there. So verse Deuteronomy 28:54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother. Okay? So you got the northern kingdom, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and you got the southern kingdom, which consists of the Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, the tribe of Ephraim, all the way down to the tribe of Issachar. Both sides, we're at each other's throats. We are divided. Okay? United we stand, but divided we fall. And how did we fall? Because of King Solomon. Because he went after other gods. And, because his wives led him astray. And his son Rehoboam was an asshole, making life more difficult for the northern kingdom. Okay? Now, let's see here. Let me get, this is why it tells you in the Apocrypha, the book of, let me get it real quick, I'm sorry. the book of First Ezra, chapter 4. First Ezra chapter 4, verse 26, and it says, Yea, many there be that have run out of their wits for women, and become servant for their sakes. Many also have perished, have erred and sinned for women. Okay? And that's exactly what happened to Solomon. He ran out of his right mind because of those women. Okay? And also, the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, verse 3. It says, Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Okay? It's not to say that women are stronger or superior men. It's just that women have the ability to ruin a man's life, whether it be financially, his reputation, whatever the case. She could ruin a man's life and make his life a living hell. Especially the women in this society. These women, they don't give a damn about a man's well-being. Not one bit. Okay, now we're going to get this is going to be the book of Ecclesiasticus, aka Sirach in the Apocrypha. It's going to be chapter 47. 47 verse 21. Let's see, hold on, let's see something here. Okay, yeah. Slovakia. I paused it for a second, but yeah, Sirach chapter 47, verse 21, it says, So the kingdom was divided, and out of Ephraim ruled a rebellious kingdom. Okay, so yeah, the northern kingdom was very, very rebellious. Okay, and you could read all about it in the book of, read all about it in First Kings. A lot of the kings in the northern kingdom were rebellious, causing the rest of the northern kingdom to go off. Okay. In fact, let me go up a couple scripts here. This is going to be Sirach chapter 47, verse 18. It says, By the name of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, which is called the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai of Israel, thou didst gather gold as tin and didst multiply silver as lead. Okay? Meaning basically you began to become cankered, withered. You became, you didn't, because the reason why I said is because, you were led astray, you fell away. You became rebellious, disobedient, you followed after the ways of the heathen, you became abominable in the Lord's sight. You weren't that choice silver and gold, you just became as tin and lead, which are cheaper, lesser, lower valued metals. Verse 19, Thou didst bow thy loins unto women, and by thy body thou wast brought into subjection. Verse 20, Thou didst stain thy honor, and pollute thy seed, so that thou broughtest wrath upon thy children, and was grieved for thy folly. Verse 21, So the kingdom was divided out of Ephraim ruled a rebellious kingdom. Okay, woman worship. Okay, putting that pussy up on a pedestal. Okay, and that's what America promotes. This society promotes the woman over the man. Okay, and the Bible speaks against that. The woman is not supposed to be over the man. Verse 22. But the Lord will never leave off his mercy, neither shall any of his works perish, neither will he abolish the posterity of his elect, and the seed of him that loveth him he will not take away. Wherefore he gave a remnant unto Jacob, and out of him a root unto David. So the elect and a root unto David, Yahweh Shai. Okay? So we're going to go get, let's see. So, once again, going back to, like I said, the Assyrians, yes, they took the bulk of the northern kingdom with them. But, there were some that did remain. And that's going to be in the book of, let me see, I know it's in here somewhere. It was the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 30, verse. Excuse me. Second Chronicles chapter 30. Oh shoot, I skipped it. Second Chronicles chapter 30. Verse. Let's see. Okay, let me see if I can find it again here. Yep. Second Chronicles chapter 30. We'll start at verse 1. It says, and Hezekiah, who was the 13th king, and he was the son of Ahaz, and he was the 13th king of Judah, I believe. Let me see. Yep. He was a king. He was the 13th king of the southern kingdom. And it says here, 2 Chronicles 31. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah, and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of the Lord at Jerusalem to keep the Passover until the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the second month. For they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should keep the Passover unto the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Israel at Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written. So the posts, verse 6, so the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah. And according to the commandment of the king, saying, ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. And Israel is the surname of Jacob. And he will return to the remnant of you that are escaped out of the hand of the kings of Assyria. In verse 7, and be not ye like your fathers, and like your brethren which trespass against the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai of their fathers, who therefore gave them up to desolation, as ye see. Verse 8, now be ye not stiff-necked as your fathers were, but yield yourselves unto the Lord, and enter into his sanctuary. which he hath sanctified forever, and serve the Lord your power, that the fierceness of his wrath may turn away from you. Okay, verse 9, for if ye turn again unto the Lord, your brethren and your children shall find compassion before them that lead them captive, so that they shall come again into this land. For the Lord your power is gracious and merciful, and will not turn away his face from you if ye return unto him. Okay. Verse 10. So the post passed from city to city through the country of Ephraim and Manasseh, even to Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. Verse 11. Nevertheless, diverse of Asher and Manasseh and Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. Verse 12, also in Judah the hand of the Most High was to give them one heart to do the commandment of the king and of the princes by the word of the Lord. Okay. Verse 13, there assembled at Jerusalem much people to keep the feast of unleavened bread in the second month, and a very great congregation. Okay, so some of the northern kingdom had to come down, had to humble themselves and come down and celebrate and fellowship in the Passover. All right. Now, excuse me. So now, let's see. Now this is gonna go down. We're gonna read a little bit more here. Let's see. Okay, this is going to be verse 14. And they arose and took away the altars that were in Jerusalem, and all the altars for incense took they away and cast them into the brook Kidron. Then they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the second month, and the priests and the Levites were ashamed and sanctified themselves and brought in the burnt offerings into the house of the Lord. And they stood in their place after their manner, according to the law of Moses, the man of the Most High. The priests sprinkled the blood which they received of the hand of the Levites. For there were many in the congregation that were not sanctified. Therefore the Levites had the charge of the killing of the Passovers for every one that was not clean, to sanctify them unto the Lord. Verse 18. For a multitude of people, even many of Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar and Zebulun had not cleansed themselves, yet did they eat the Passover otherwise. Then it was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, the good Lord pardon every one that prepareth his heart to seek the power, the Lord Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua his fathers, though he be not cleansed according to the purification of the sanctuary. And verse 20, and the Lord hearkened to Hezekiah and healed the people. Okay, so it was like they had to refresh themselves, because they went off for so long doing abominable things that were unsightly. So all right, now we're going to get to the book of 2 Kings. It's going to be chapter 17. Let's see. Chapter 17. And this is going to be about Hosea. Okay? So we're going to go back up to let's see. Like I said, okay, now like it says right here. Even though this is the book of Hosea, chapter 13, verse 16, I'll get that in a minute, but it says, many civilians were killed during the invasion by the Assyrians, with infants being dashed and pregnant women being ripped open. Similar acts were perpetrated in later Assyrian conquests, such as the conquest of Elam. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get starting right here. This is going to be the book of 2 Kings chapter 17, starting at verse 1, and it says, "In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea the son of Elah to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did," in verse 2, "and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him." Verse 3, "Again, against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria as he had done year by year. And during that time in Egypt, there was another ruler in Egypt. I think his name was Osir Khan the Fourth, but I'll get into it in a second. But let's see. Okay, so, and brought no present to the king of Assyria as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came and up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years." So, and I remember looking up earlier, as for how long was the northern kingdom within Assyria captivity, it was, I think it said around about 10 years. So about a decade. And it says here in verse 6, 2 Kings 17:6, "In the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and Habor by the river of Gozan and in the city of the Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods." And verse 8, "And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made." Verse 9, "And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their power. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree." So, setting up, these false idols made out of, wood, stone, or any element whatever that they used. In verse 11, "And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets." Verse 14, "Notwithstanding they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers that did not believe in the Lord their power." Verse 15, "And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them, and they followed vanity, and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them." Okay? So, all of Israel went off. But yes, this is mainly talking about the northern kingdom. Let's see here. Let me get Hosea. All right, let me see something. All right. Let's see here. Let me get Hosea. Yeah, there we go. Slovakia. My brain just kind of went blank on me there for a second. Okay, this is going to be Hosea. It's going to be Hosea chapter 10. Hosea chapter 10. Verse, Hosea, no, that's wrong, that's not it. Okay, sorry. This is Hosea chapter 9, verse 1. And it says, Rejoice not, O Israel, for joy as of the people. For thou hast gone a whoring from thy power. Thou hast loved a reward upon every corn floor. Verse 2, the floor of the winepress shall not feed them, and the new wine shall fail in her. Verse 3, they shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt. And in Egypt it means bondage. And they shall eat unclean things in Assyria. Verse 4, they shall not suffer wine offerings. They shall not offer wine offerings to the Lord, neither shall they be pleasing unto him. Their sacrifice shall be unto them as the bread of mourners. All that eat thereof shall be polluted, for their bread, for their soul shall not come into the house of the Lord. So, eating abominable things, and their food was not, the food was not good. Okay, so Ephraim, which represents the northern kingdom. They ate unclean things, went after other gods when they were under captivity in Assyria. In verse 5 it says, What will ye do in the solemn day, and in the day of the feast of the Lord? Verse 6, For lo, they are gone because of destruction. Egypt shall gather them up, Memphis shall bury them, the pleasant places for their silver, nettles shall possess them, thorns shall be in their tabernacles. Verse 7, the day of visitation are come, the days of recompense are come. Israel shall know it. The prophet is a fool, the spiritual man is mad, for the multitude of thine iniquity and the great hatred. Verse 8, the watchman of Ephraim was with my power, but the prophet is a snare and a fowler in all his ways, in hatred in the house of his power. Verse 9, they have deeply corrupted themselves as in the days of Gibeah. Therefore he will remember their iniquity. He will visit their sins. Verse 10, I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first ripen the fig tree at her first time. But they went to all pure and separated themselves unto that shame, and their abominations were according as they loved. Okay? So the northern kingdom has a history, well, all of Israel in general, but especially the northern kingdom, they have quite the notorious reputation for, following after, false gods, idols, and all that, like Guadalupe, Santeria, Jesus Christos, and amongst other things. Okay? Let's see. Where was I? Okay, and as for verse 11, as for Ephraim, their glory shall flee like a bird, from the birth and from the womb and from the conception. Okay. Verse 12, though they bring up their children, yet will I bereave them, that there shall not be a man left. Yea, woe also to them when I depart from them. Verse 13, Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. Okay? So you see that nowadays, with the northern kingdom, the northern tribes, coming into supposedly migrants coming into America, they bring their children here, have their children become indoctrinated, fall after the ways of these heathen, in these, when Trump really gets down with these deportations, man, he's going to separate families. He's going to separate families, and, there's no telling what he's going to do to your kids. Okay? So, let me get, this is, this is Hosea chapter 10, verse 5. It says, "The inhabitants of Samaria shall fear because of the calves of Bethaven, for the people therefore shall mourn over it, and the priests thereof that rejoiced on it for the glory thereof, because it is departed from it. And it shall be also carried from Assyria for a present to," wait, hold on. Yep. "It shall be carried unto Assyria for a present to King Jerob. Ephraim shall receive shame, and Israel shall be ashamed of his own counsel." Okay. "As for Samaria, her king is cut off as the foam upon the water." Okay. "The high places also of Avon, the sin of Israel shall be destroyed. The thorn and the thistle shall come up on the altars, and they shall say to the mountains, Cover us, and to the hills, Fall on us." Verse 9, "O Israel, thou hast sinned from the days of Gibeah. There they stood the battle of Gibeah again. The children of iniquity did not overtake them." All right. So let's see here. Verse 13, I'm going to drop down here. It says, "Ye have plowed wickedness, ye have reaped iniquity, ye have eaten the fruit of lies, because thou didst trust in thy way, in the multitude of thy mighty men. Therefore shall a tumult arise among thy people, and all thy fortresses shall be spoiled as Shalman spoiled. Betharbel, in the day of battle, the mother was dashed in pieces upon her children. So shall Bethel do unto you, because of your great wickedness. In mourning shall the king of Israel be utterly cut off." Okay. So because of their disobedience and their abominations, the northern kingdom, they went through some serious hell. The Lord punished them severely. Okay. I believe it was, let's see, where was that one scripture at? I think it was Hosea chapter 15, verse 13, I think. Let me check. So yeah, the Lord made the northern kingdom pay severely. No. So it was Hosea 13. There we go. Hosea 13 and 16. "Samaria shall become desolate, for she hath rebelled against her power. They shall fall by the sword, their infants shall be dashed in pieces, and their women with child shall be ripped up." Okay? Excuse me. And like I said, I read it somewhere else on here that the northern kingdom was in captivity to the Assyrians for about 10 years, so a decade. And Shalmaneser, he besieged Samaria for 3 years. Now going to back to 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter. Now let's see if I can find it. Okay, there we go. Second Esdras chapter 13, verse 40. It says, "Those of the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land and in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanessar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel again amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country which never mankind dwelt." Verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. Verse 44, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. And Arsareth, that land today, is known as America. Okay? So the Northern Kingdom, the so-called Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, they've been here in the Americas for a long time, hundreds of years, more than hundreds of years. Okay? They've been here for a long time, and yet you got Trump and the rest of these bold ass Edomites, saying to deport them out of America. They didn't go back to their own country. Well, motherfucker, they were here long before you were. What gives you the right to take their home from them when they're just trying to simply, this is their land. They have every right to be here. They have more of a right to be here than you. Okay. And you could also go into let me see here. On Holofernes. He was an invading Assyrian general in the book of Judith, who was beheaded by Judith, who entered his camp and decapitated him while he was intoxicated. And the biblical account here, according to the book of Judith, which is in the Apocrypha, Holofernes had been dispatched by Nebuchadnezzar to take vengeance on Israel, which had withheld assistance in his most recent war, having occupied every land along the coastline. Holofernes outlawed the worship of any god other than Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, so even before Nebuchadnezzar, who was the ruling king of Babylon, before Babylon came into power, Nebuchadnezzar was he was also Assyrian. So just a little history note right there. So despite being warned against attacking the people of Israel by Achior, who was the leader of the Ammonites, Holofernes laid siege to the city of Bethulia. Alright, and the city almost fell into the invading army because of Holofernes' advances stopped the water supply to Bethulia, which led to its people, encouraging the rulers to capitulate. The leaders vowed to surrender if no help arrived within 5 days. Bethulia was saved by Judith, a Judean widow, who entered the camp of Holofernes, seduced him, and got him drunk before beheading him. She returned to Bethulia with the severed head. The assassination of Holofernes led to the defeat of his army. Okay. And identification, the Roman Catholic Church has traditionally maintained the historicity of the Book of Judith, setting it to the reign of Manasseh of Judah. Okay, so just like I said, just a couple of things to look over because there was a lot of things going on between the Egypt, the Assyrian Empire, and the upcoming power, which was the Babylonian Empire. And the next one is going to be the Babylonian Empire. That's the one I'm going to go into next after this one. So, Lord willing that this was edifying unto the body and to the sincere believers and listeners about the captivity of the northern kingdom by the Assyrian Empire. Okay, and with that closing, I would like to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching this word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning. And unto the Bayath and Dabadah, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. See you in the next lesson, Lord willing. Kwam Yasharallah, Ba Abad Babal, Shalom, Barakatam.